Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Grow Your Path to Wellness. My colleague Amanda and I, if you are new here, we host a new wellness guest and we release new episodes every Sunday. So be sure to like, subscribe, follow so that way you don't miss out on any new episodes. Last week, we hosted Ryan Allen. He's also known on his different social media platforms as the preschool therapist. We covered many things related to parenting and mental health and preschool age children. This week, Amanda is not able to be with us. You don't see her on your screen because she is not feeling well. So I myself will be hosting and welcoming Lauren. Is it Kreidler, Lauren? I wanted to make sure I said it right. So we're going to have a conversation today, her and I, about just different delivery methods for treatment, therapy, specifically talking about breaking the stigma and different ways we can break that stigma and get other people, into therapy when they need it, and all of the things about therapy and different methods that Lauren herself has engaged in. And so Lauren, welcome. It's just you and I, but you've kind of met both of us, even on TikTok. It's another friend from TikTok. So welcome. I can't speak for Amanda ever, but I know that we were both very happy and excited that you could join us.
Excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So we always ask everybody, if you don't mind, just to give like a little introduction, any background you want to share, just anything about yourself for our community, and also why you chose the topic.
Lauren Kreidler. I am a college student majoring in broadcast meteorology. So the weather I'm very passionate about, as well as mental health. I'm known on TikTok as Weather with Lauren, and that's where I produce most of my weather and my mental health content on there. So yeah.
So tell me, what led you, because everybody's, this is a wellness podcast and we tell everybody, you don't obviously ever have to share anything that you don't want to share, but you are obviously very passionate about this topic. So can you share with us what, you're like, I'm passionate about weather, and then there's a mental health aspect to you, which led you to pick this topic. So do you mind sharing a little bit about this topic and what it means to you?
So my goal with my content is to bring more of the client perspective to mental health, because, we see a lot of mental health professionals put out content, and that's awesome. But I want to have it from the client perspective as well, and just to help break that stigma. And I feel like going into meteorology, especially broadcast meteorology, you see these people on TV, and there's a lot of just assumptions that they have their life together, and they're dressed so nicely, and but they're people too. They're people, they're humans. And I hope to, when I'm a meteorologist on TV one day, I really want to bring the mental health aspect into that as well, to just break that stigma and let everyone know that it's okay not to be okay all the time.
Yes. So you obviously, and again, you don't have to share anything, but our community will assume that you are, in therapy yourself, and are a consumer of services, making it, very close to your heart as well.
Diagnosed with anxiety, a generalized anxiety disorder, a couple years ago. And when I was diagnosed with that, I never felt more alone. Like, it was like, I felt like it just felt like, I didn't feel myself. Like, I thought, I was like, where did I go so wrong to feel this way? And it wasn't until I started seeing Kelly, my therapist, who is absolutely amazing, that I realized that, it's okay to feel this way, and there's different ways to feel better. And, anxiety is a very normal thing. So, personally in my family, it's not talked about enough. And I hope to break that stigma by talking about it more and letting people know that it is okay.
Yes, absolutely. So what did your therapy, like, is it something that you came to a place that you were like, I think it would be helpful for me? Like, I heard you saying, like, were you already feeling alone in those things that you were struggling with? And then you were like, maybe it would be helpful to reach out to somebody?
For me, I was having a lot of panic attacks. I was having these very physical, debilitating symptoms, or even driving just felt like, oh my God, this is so scary, I'm going to die. And that was a very scary feeling, because I was 20 when I was diagnosed with anxiety. My friends are, living these with social media, it seems like everyone's just living their best life. So it's all these highlight reels, and you just see everyone thriving, and you're like, oh my God. So I did want to seek help, because I'm like, how can I improve myself and get to a point where I'm not feeling like this. And therapy has been life-changing for that reason for me, and I'm just so grateful that I found Kelly, because it's been so helpful for me as a person. And I feel like I've grown so much in just a couple of years, since being diagnosed. And I've always been an anxious person, and like I'm learning that like recently, but like it just like more recently, just like I've always been an anxious person. But it's interesting, like discovering like the past and like how you can heal in the future.
Yes, and like, okay, this isn't. It's hard. Like I say, we do that a lot of the comparing on social media, and then it's like it's so easy if we don't have this outside perspective, whether it's from a therapist or friends and family are not therapists. We say that all the time, but having that external perspective can help me step outside of my own and be like, okay, I'm comparing myself to very unrealistic things, and that comparison to other people and what we think and the way that we think they're living their life, and comparing ours to that can be very, very heavy. And I think that's why I like, Amanda and I both, we talk about this all the time about TikTok. There's definitely, it's very personalized to you as you spend more time on the app, but I think it's definitely a really good platform to help people put out real, authentic content. So at the end, I was going to ask you where you can be found. So I heard you say, so Weather with Lauren, so you don't mind sharing that. Okay, very cool. Where are you at in your schooling? I haven't got to like talk with you about that, the meteorology.
One more year left, and then I'll officially be a meteorologist, which is exciting. So I'm like right, like I can see the finish line, but I have some classes to go.
Well, 1 year, that's amazing. I want to say congrats, because you've already done so much work. So
It's definitely one of my favorite meteorologists, Ginger Z. She's the chief meteorologist for Good Morning America, and she's been a fantastic mentor. But she really talks about her mental health, and she has a couple of books that she's written. One's actually coming out in, I believe, October, where she talks about mental health, and she relates it to the weather. And it's just so fascinating, just hearing what she has to say about like clouds don't last forever, like they won't. Atmosphere in life, like so it's definitely cool, and like I just hope to have that impact like she has on me, talking about mental health, and really breaking that stigma where these people that you see on TV aren't like picture perfect. Everybody.
Yes, and we can, we have control to, for a portion of things, we can control how we show up, and sometimes it doesn't feel authentic, but I feel like I have to show up in the world this way. And it's very it's vulnerable. It's so vulnerable to show and to be open about these things, which it's vulnerable because it is so stigmatized, and it's something that is not talked about. And I'm like, it's 2021. Like, people will talk about a heart condition or, asthma, like all of these other organ, functioning things, but then it comes to the brain and it's like, no, we don't do that. Like
I didn't tell my own family that I was in therapy until it made national news. One of my TikToks went viral and it made national news, and like I had to tell them because I was scared of them finding out that way. So I mean, it was a very interesting way to like tell my parents I'm in therapy. But like that's, I mean, it goes to show how traumatized things are. Like you can't just like, it's not like you should be able to be like, oh, I'm going to, look at my foot hurts, like I'm gonna get it fixed, whatever, that kind of stuff. But it's not like that, unfortunately. So I'm hoping like my generation, the upcoming generations, really, normalize it to a point where it is normal and it's not something that's so taboo to talk about.
Absolutely. And you'll have to let me know the title of this book of hers, because my brain, well, maybe all therapists, but I can't speak for all therapists, so just myself. we love a good like metaphor, analogy, and different things to compare things to, because it helps it. It's like it makes it make sense
Exactly.
for my brain. It's because it can sound so big, or it doesn't feel like something that I can fully relate to or apply to myself. And then you break it down with things like that, and I think it's so helpful. So okay. So let's jump into the different means or different methods and, ways of delivering therapy as a service. So I know you have a very unique perspective that you have been sharing on your platforms as well. And I put it on our ad, cow therapy. So tell us all about what cow therapy is, Lauren.
So that kind of started, Kelly's my therapist, and we were talking about just different ways to help my anxiety. And we were talking about equine therapy, which is therapy with horses. And her practice, the Therapy Hub, offers horse therapy, equine therapy. And like, it sounded good, but I was just like, what about cow therapy? Like, we were just, I don't know, it just came up in session. And kind of a joke. And then like next session, I made her a PowerPoint because I love making Kelly PowerPoints because I think it's a great way in therapy just to organize thoughts and, put some mental health memes in there, but really it just helps like keep me on track of what I want to discuss in session. And obviously there's things that are harder to talk about than others. So I think it's a great way to like, I'm going on a tangent here.
No.
I made her a PowerPoint of like why cow therapy should be a thing, and I did my research, and like cow cuddling is like a legitimate like there's studies behind this, like it's therapeutic, and it's very similar to equine therapy where you cuddle with the cow, and you're just in the cow's presence, and they're these very like beautiful creatures, and they're very calming, and they lay on the ground a lot. So like with horse therapy, the horses stand, whereas like cow therapy, you're like on the ground, like on their level. So like that's a big difference between equine therapy and cow therapy. But anyway, Kelly, being the fantastic human she is, she made it happen. She surprised me with she knows somebody, well, someone in her practice knows somebody with a cow farm.
Oh my gosh.
Had a cow therapy session at this farm, and it was incredible. Like there was a baby cow, and it was like only a few weeks old, and it was just like so like wobbly and cute, and it fell asleep on my lap, and like I was not anxious at all. So like I like 10 out of 10 recommend like persuading your therapist to do cow therapy.
That's amazing. And I swear and I know I've seen that video, and like this little baby cow. Dude, how can like it's so calming to have, even like a dog or, some kind of other emotionally neutral, calm, presence. And then you think of like an adorable baby cow. Like, of course.
No, it was absolutely. And I think the funny thing too was I made her the PowerPoint, and then I made a TikTok about it, which was kind of like a secondhand thought. Like that was never like part of my plan at all. And then like that went viral, and I had comments like somebody like from Australia is commenting. They're like, Kelly needs a cow, and it was just so funny. Like refer to Kelly like as Kelly, and I'm like I don't know, like everyone just knows who she is now, and like I'm like Kelly, like she's not on TikTok herself, but like she's just TikTok famous now. So like
everybody knows you. Everyone.
Made Kelly that like cow therapy should be a thing. And I'm like, how did this happen? But it happened.
Amazing.
I have so much respect for therapists and people in the mental health field, just for accommodating their clients, and it helped, and I don't know, the support just meant a lot to me. So it was a really great experience all the way around.
Yes, where I excuse me, where I used to work, we like I've done more like in my own practice, I do a lot of like what we would call ecotherapy, like time in nature of in some way, shape, or form. So in my private practice now, I have a handful of I have 2 state parks and then 1 park that's like a walk from my office, but where I can meet clients and we can walk, and obviously there's different different things in place. Like we obviously don't do super heavy stuff walking out in public, but it's up to them and it's their time, and we can do different, exercises like a grounding, or so many people. I don't like even though calling it unconventional, but that stigma of viewing therapy as you, because like I'll have like relatives or friends, and they'll talk about like your couch. I mean, do I have a couch? Yes. Like but it can be so much more than just being in the office. Some people that's super effective and exactly what they want and what they need, but offering other avenues like connecting with animals, connecting with nature. I have a dream or like a vision in my mind of doing like an ecotherapy, but like plants, like a workshop, to help people kind of pick out plants or pot plants to take home and care for, and so many different ways. And I love that you just asked Kelly, like you knew that they offered the equine. Did you do the equine therapy? Did you try it, or were you like, I don't know if it's for me?
It scared me, but now I feel like I should do it just so I can like compare, especially because our practice offers it. So maybe that will be in the works.
I was just curious because like not that's a perfect example though of something not feeling like the best fit for everybody. It's like, I don't know, that method maybe makes me feel a little bit anxious, and some people might feel more comfortable or safer in an office environment. So it's just having those options available is huge. So does she offer, like with the equine therapy, is there others? Like, do they have any dogs there? Or I see that a lot. People having dogs.
To therapy sometimes, but she's not like a therapy kind of dog. Like she just wants to run around, so that's not really therapeutic in itself. But Kelly allows me to bring her, so sometimes she joins me, but that's usually more chaotic. But yeah, no, there's just definitely like different like types of therapy. I feel like I've tried a good handful of them as well. Like even like I've done text therapy before with Kelly, like prior to meeting her in person, which I saw benefits of that as well. And then obviously like with the pandemic, there was virtual therapy for a long time. That in, as you were saying, like there's just that like I don't know. I feel like even in cartoons, it's like the person like laying on the couch, like just like looking up and not like making eye contact with the therapist.
Yeah.
And, like really how it is. Like I take my shoes off sometimes. I'm like sitting on the floor. Like it's not like how like these movies and like cartoons make it out more obviously with cows and horses.
Cows, horses, and walks, and all kinds of things.
Literally for everyone. There's definitely a way that could benefit somebody.
Yes, absolutely. So, do you get to do the cow therapy, like maybe not on a regular basis, but do you get to do it more than once? Is it something that has to be set up?
But I'm hoping in the future we do it again soon. So
That's so cool. What does Kelly say about her not, well, she knows about her TikTok presence, but what do you share updates with her about, like her presence on TikTok that she's not necessarily engaged with herself?
I love reading. I'll just be like, all right, like I like debrief her on TikTok like for the week at the start of my session sometimes. Yeah, no, I love keeping her in the loop of TikTok, even though she's not on. One day maybe I'll get her to be on it, but I think she told me, see her fame from afar. So
She's like, no, I'm fine with this. I will watch this, but from over here. Oh, okay. And then, yeah, I'm trying to think of other. Well, where I used to work, my old office, they never let me, but I tried because now I work for myself, so I can I have a lot more flexibility. But I've tried so hard to take my teen clients. We had like a walking trail, or like the bike path that we would walk on, but then there was like a dog shelter across the street. And I so badly, which I understood why they wouldn't, like, even if you could walk through and just see them, not even like have to interact with them. I had so many clients that wanted to do it, but they would not let me walk them over there and do it. But that's another one that, and Amanda, she's not here, but I know that we've talked many times that if we lived closer to one another, like a dream would be to start like an animal, like a therapeutic animal rescue. So, but you said you have pets yourself. You have a dog, I heard.
She's 1 year old, a golden doodle named Breezy. And like I got her in the pandemic.
They can be so powerful though for mental health, and you know, having animals at home in our own personal space, and those, just the effect that those have, even like a sense of, because I don't like to call it motivation, but like that self accountability of, okay, I have to take care of this animal because, and I will, because it can't take care of itself. And then it's like that connection between, well, then I have to take care of me so that way I can take care of this animal. And it's kind of a good feedback loop that people who are really, really struggling, it can be really helpful for them. So have you found any therapeutic effects from having Breezy with you?
Like I'm not very like physically active, and like I take her to the beach a lot, and like I find that that's relaxing for me, just walking down the beach with her, and like she's size, but like typically that's not something that I would just be like, all right, let me just go to the beach, which I should because I'm only like a few minutes away. So like
Yes.
ever since getting her, that is something I've been doing more, and it has helped me in addition to helping her. So definitely the exercise
Yeah.
component.
As far as your platform, let's talk about that, the aspect of using a presence on social media, and how did you just kind of come across that? Like, did you start your TikTok, just, I guess your TikTok journey, was that something that kind of just naturally developed for you, like the mental health presence, or was it something that you were pretty intentional with from the start?
A little bit of both. I mean, going into obviously my account weather with Lauren, and I definitely had the intentions of putting out more weather content, but then just being honest with myself by posting mental health content, and then getting comments and messages of people just relating to what I was saying and say, oh, I felt that way, or like, oh my god, like that helps me. Like I've been doing like a come to therapy with me series, so when I go to work I kind of like, or when I go to work, oh god, when I go to therapy, log my way there, and just kind of talk about how I'm feeling leading up to going to therapy and how my session went after and that kind of stuff. And like the response I got, just like people like, oh, like this makes me want to find a therapist. And it's like that motivates me to put out more content because I'm like, I know how much it's helped me. Just therapy and talking about mental health. So like if more people do that, then like, I'm like, I love that. So it's definitely progressed in that way. It was never my intention at first, but now like I really like the mental health side of TikTok. It's incredible. And the amount of people, everyone's just so great on there. So
And they really are. Like before, and we probably, Amanda and I both, TikTok comes up probably every episode like that we record, like everyone. So like our community knows just how much, our listening community here knows how much we are involved and love TikTok. Like the community, and everybody has a unique presence there, and the things that they're putting out, and everybody's content is different, and for other people to see not just like, yes, the stigma of therapy, but also the normal, the human experiences that go into trying to find a therapist, or that human anxiety or that human discomfort leading up to going and starting your session that day. And like how I've seen you show, like, I take snacks with me, and people are like, you can, I don't know, I'm not in your comment section or your messages, but I'm sure people are probably like, you can do that? You can take snacks? Like,
yeah, I do like, just kind of like normalizing the experience of it all. Like it doesn't have to be this big scary thing. And like, um, again, just talking about how taboo like it is, just therapy and mental health and that kind of stuff. It really doesn't have to be that way. And just my goal is hopefully producing content like that will like make people feel less alone, because I know the content I see helps me feel like when I was told I have anxiety, I was just like, oh my God, like where did I go wrong? And like I didn't really even, not that I felt like I was the only anxious person in the world, but it almost feels that way because nobody like talked about it. Like nobody like expressed feelings of, um feeling anxious and that kind of stuff, and like in my experience anyway. So like it just felt like I was doing something wrong to feel that way. So then, since joining TikTok and seeing other people like experience the same thing, you're really not alone. Like nobody's alone. We're all in this together. It's really cool.
Yes. Did you start your like TikTok at the beginning of the pandemic? Because like I know Amanda and I both, we were like, all right, let's try this. Never in a million years did I think I was going to be making like content. That was let alone like how now I'm doing a podcast. Like, did I ever think we were going to do like I was going to do this? Like, no, you were not going to catch me talking on like and I realized because I hate public speaking, but like the pandemic, it was like I have these passions and I have this information, and people right now are feeling so alone or so isolated or so, disconnected. And then it's like, well, we'll try it. I'll try it. We'll see how it goes. Or I'll make an account and I'll check out other people's content. And then we slowly have evolved to here. So, but keep making, that content, and we're not making the content to get views or to get followers or to get, it's like if I'm getting a platform, I want it to be authentic and something that's naturally forming. And I can tell that that's what yours was and is for you.
Definitely. No, it's definitely a very cool experience. And as you were saying, like just the feeling of like disconnection, like just last like year in the pandemic. I mean, and I think TikTok was a great way to bring people together, just so many different kinds of people from all over the world just by uniting with different content. So I definitely think social media helped with the pandemic. That's kind of when I started creating content myself, because it seemed a great time to do so when we're all at home. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how it's evolved.
Yes. Yes. And I love that because so with meteorology and, and that having that kind of platform or be a public figure, you're out there, sure, your job, your occupation is talking about the weather, and I don't know terminology or anything about that besides I like sunny weather. But do you feel like you have a vision of how you would like to tie those things together, or just keep doing what you're doing? Or, do you have any kind of other things other types of stigmas or areas of the stigma that you feel very passionate about kind of breaking through, whether that's right now or in the future?
Well, so I've lived in South Florida my entire life. So when I was 6, my house was destroyed by a hurricane, naturally. And so we had to like rebuild the house, like the whole house was flooded. And like when I was 6, like I didn't really like think twice about it. Obviously, like to my parents, I'm sure it was a very stressful experience. But that's kind of when I really always liked the weather. But it wasn't until middle school when I was like, okay, like I wanted to be a meteorologist. But going on with that, I just want to, when I am a meteorologist, to be like the calm voice. Like everybody already has anxiety over storms and bad weather, and it's scary, natural disasters. So I'm hoping that as a meteorologist, I can be the calm voice to just kind of walk them through, tell them as it is. Obviously no hype. So I kind of hope to bring the mental health aspect into that as well, just to make sure that like nothing's overhyped. And I definitely want to use that within my platform, in addition to talking about mental health and my own struggles with anxiety and how that's normal. But then also there's also like females in the neurology field is very, very stigmatized as well. It's people tend to call it like weather girls, but really like they're degreed scientists on TV, and usually it comes from like a lack of knowledge more so than like an insult. They don't know that. but meteorology, like, I'm taking Calc 1, 2, and 3, Physics 1, 2, and 3, like if you're a scientist. So definitely want to educate on that aspect as well. And just like the amount of people, when I interned for our local news station, the amount of people that send these emails, and I know it would happen regardless, but there's so many emails that get sent, like just judging people's outfits, especially like the woman, just like, oh my God, like, why would you wear that on TV? It's so ugly. But it's just so like, I don't know. I just hope to like spread kindness in the field and, just make people realize that these people you see are humans too, as I mentioned earlier. So that's kind of my goal, is just to kind of, normalize the field altogether.
I love that. I felt, oh my God, her name and her handle. I just recently started following her, but she is I don't know if it's meteorology. She's like an anchor of some sort, but with a local platform or, station here in Ohio. And she is breaking so many barriers when it comes to being not just a woman in that field, but also in the LGBTQ plus community. And it's like amazing. If I can find her, if I come across one of her videos on my page, I'll have to share it with you, because she is so great. And she came in my mind whenever you mentioned that. And you're completely right. Like, I've heard people make comments too about women who are, delivering the weather or on TV in that way, and if they're pregnant on TV. And I'm like, what? Like, well, that happens. Like, she's gonna have a baby. That doesn't mean that she needs to not be on TV because she's pregnant. Like, it's very, and you will see, probably male meteorologists, talking about the weather and doing their thing, and it's like, oh, they're so knowledgeable. They know everything. Like, it's just, and I'm not in that field, so I guess now that you're saying that out loud, I can completely see that.
And I think there's a certain way you have to act a certain way, and like I won't, I don't like that part of the field. It's like, it's, I don't know, able to be who you are, and that's what's important, is you being authentic versus being someone that you're supposed to be like what's that even mean? Like, that's just,
I know. You're like, yeah, what does that mean? What are these rules and these expectations that are being placed on me because of my, my identifying gender versus cis heterosexual man?
exactly.
What do you notice? Like, if you think about that, because it's not this isn't an area that we've had a guest on here about, but the those expectations for you being a female meteorologist, like if you think about that, like if I walk in, to my job, what are those expectations or things that you feel like you're expected to show up as?
I definitely, my first thought is just looks. Just like, there were, in the past, and some stations still abide by this, like you have to have your hair like 1 inch below your shoulders, like maximum. Like, you can't have it any longer, you can't have it like any whatever. So like, and like, you can't have like these crazy colors. If hair, you have to have like a certain color. So just looks wise, in general, they tell you what colors you can wear, and I get that aspect, because you don't want certain colors to not show up as well on TV. But just like looks, and like what color your hair can be, like that kind of stuff, like I feel like is definitely something that comes up, that's expected of you in that field.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. I mean, you always, looks are like the biggest thing, I feel like, for sure.
And that anchor that I mentioned, I cannot remember her name, but she done a TikTok video where and she was, delivering the news, or I don't know, like her role there. I know, but she might be in sports or some other area of the broadcasting, but she has an undercut under her hair, and showed her doing, her part, giving, broadcasting her section, and then at the end she walked off the stage and then put her hair up, and then you could see the undercut and things of her hair, and that makes sense now, because it's like you're probably not allowed to do a whole lot with your hair as a woman.
Yeah, there's definitely like more rules that like the women in the field have to follow more so than the men. And even the criticism, like obviously men in the field get criticism too,
Sure.
but about looks, like be like, oh, you got the forecast wrong, whatever. But from my experience of what I've seen, it's usually the women that like get these nasty emails about their looks, or, oh, you look so tired today. Like, okay, well,
Oh,
they're are tired, like like, but like, who are you, this random person behind the screen, to like say that about somebody? And I know when I enter that field, I mean, it's bound to happen, of course, and I was always told you need to have a thick skin if you're entering this field, blah, blah, whatever, and that's great, and I get that. But I'm hoping just being authentic myself and like reminding these everyone that like they're human as well, then maybe it'll kind of lessen the fact that like they're not these perfect people that they think they are. So I'm hoping that will kind of help. And people, I want to be able to be relatable, I guess, is my point.
like anybody in our field, it's like as soon as you work with other humans, I feel like there's an expectation of, well, you better have a thick skin, because people are going to say things. I feel like we're perpetuating not being kind and not being authentic. And to say to have thick skin, I feel like we need to, as a society, reword that and say, how can I get solid in my own sense of self, but also it's okay for things to hurt my feelings because people are not being kind. And it sounds like a cliche, like, oh, just be kind. Like, as I'm wearing a shirt that says kindness is free. But it really is. And it's like people have to go out of their way to send you an email to say unkind things. And it's like, for what? And I could only imagine, over time, we're humans and it takes a toll. So to expect us to just not be impacted by it's not realistic either. But we also, nobody deserves to have that power to take that power away from me and my sense of self. So it has to be, being in a very, very public profession would be, I don't know, kind of difficult, obviously, but I guess you have specific ways. And is that something that you like work on with Kelly too, like in your own work and things?
Yeah, I about some of the messages I get sometimes, just in general. I mean, mostly these are like, but just setting boundaries with people in general. These are like, just people that like just send weird messages, and there's just strange people. But it's just like, you have to set boundaries and take care of yourself before um, worrying about what other people are thinking about yourself, of course. And I just think that's very important in the field as well.
Yes. What does your own like self-care outside of, because that's a lot, like being I'm creating content, I'm doing my own therapy, I am a full-time student, I'm a student regardless, and I heard you say you're interning as well. So what would you say is like your biggest, it's such a therapist question to ask, but your own self-care, how do you make sure, like little things that you do to keep yourself well, since this is, we do everything, all things wellness here. What's your biggest wellness activities for you?
I definitely think self-care is super important, of course. I mean, you have to, add in self-care to your routine. And I just think, doing simple things, hanging out with friends, even if it's just the afternoon, and, um, getting a like lunch or whatever. Going by the beach, like for me, I know that's kind of like locational, just specific to me. But going by the beach is something that I try to do more, just because it's so relaxing and that kind of stuff. And um, just taking time for yourself, just doing things that you enjoy specifically, and even those times when you don't want to do things, just listening to your body and like actually like relaxing and watching that Netflix episode that you've been watching, kind of catching up that way and just decompressing. And I think that's super important, because without doing those things, obviously, you can easily get burnt out no matter what you do. And so definitely
Yeah.
things like,
I feel like we live in a society where it's like, oh, I love what I do. I don't need, it's not just about vacations, but I feel like that's the perspective, is like, I have to take a vacation. I have to earn these things, basically, is what I'm getting at. I have to earn taking a minute and just existing, or I have to earn watching a couple episodes of Netflix. But then the whole time, if I'm coming from, I call it a scarcity mindset, like I just never have enough time. So I have to carve out this time out of the time I already didn't have enough of. And I'm not being productive with that time. I'm not going to be present and get the benefits that I need and I deserve from walking at the beach. Or for myself, it would be, doing something like today. I have plants that I need to repot. Everybody knows that I love plants, and like I need to go check my garden. But you can't view it as something that I have to earn, basically.
Yeah. Mm. These things as humans to do things that we enjoy. So,
well, Lauren, so we always ask every guest if there's any last minute tips or last minute advice, or like a mantra or a metaphor or an analogy or anything that over your journey has really stuck with you, or just a saying, anything you'd like to leave our listeners, our community with before we wrap up.
I mean, I just want to say that, your mental health is obviously very important and should always come first over anything. And, to quote meteorologist Ginger Z that I mentioned earlier, last, they won't. It's not how the atmosphere works. It's not how life works. Sunny days are coming. Just, hang in there. So, yeah.
Well, Lauren, thank you so much again for, being so generous and joining us. And I know we bumped you up on our schedule, so thank you again for doing this, joining us. You're always welcome back anytime if another topic comes to your mind. And any other platforms that you can be found on, or is TikTok your main one with your content?
One for mental health content, but I do post things on my I'm on every Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for Under Weather with Lauren.
Under Weather with Lauren.
Under Weather with Lauren.
Yeah, some people have a place or a platform that is their more public presence, and obviously we wouldn't want to share personal accounts, so I wanted to make sure that one was okay.
Going all around, but definitely TikTok's going to be my prominent mental health focused TikToks or social media. So,
well, again, thank you so much. And so thank you again, Lauren, for being here. And for our listeners, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and make sure you leave us comments. We love comments and feedback and any topics that you would like to, see us bring on, if we can find some guests around that topic, or any comments about topics we've already done. Next week, we'll welcome Chris Leonard, and we're going to talk about the topic of addiction. So it's a broad topic, but we'll probably break it down into some different offshoots and how that ties in with mental health, because they are really close and feed off of one another. So don't forget that that's coming this Sunday, and you won't want to miss that. So take care, everyone.